Hello trainers, and welcome to the making of the thumbnail for episode 40 with Haunter. So this one took me about 50 minutes to do because once again I have been doing some experimentation and pushing my skills. I am still terribly amused at how my skill set seems to be improving with moisture and shine, but we'll get to that. So starting with the eyes, I kept modestly the shape of Haunter's usual eyes and definitely kept the pupils, because whenever I do the eyes, although I'm doing my OC Ditto eyes, I do want to keep some of the original Pokemon's eye shape if it very much feels like a trademark of the Pokemon, or if I just really like the design of their eyes. So with Haunter, I definitely wanted to keep the pupil slits, because it adds a little more to the creep factor, as creepy as Haunter can be in this context. And once I had the one shape, I just copied it, pasted it onto a new layer, and flipped it, because I don't see any shame or problem with copy-pasting layers if you really want to keep the symmetry to it. Doing the mouth outline, I had done the kind of like a jack-o'-lantern cutout, did the big base shape, and then added the teeth where I felt it would balance pretty well. And then doing the hands, kind of pressing up against it. Whenever it's a Pokemon with a big tongue feature like I did with Lick-a-Tongue, I like it licking the screen, because not only is it silly, I also kind of find it pretty cute. Especially since Haunter and, at that time, Lick-a-Tongue is directly licking on the observer, so made sense to me. So doing the base coloring, got the tongue in there. I kept a little bit of a heart shape at the top to have the indent ridge going down the middle, and then adding the shadows, so to emphasize how thick it is. Yeah, doing that deep groove. I forget what it's called medically, but that dividing line that goes down and helps liquid get down your tongue better. And then doing the impression shading, so it gives the, well, impression that it is pressing up against the glass of the screen or the camera or your face. I had debated doing some, like, steamy breath lines, but I felt like that would start muddying things up a little too much. Maybe if I do a later Pokemon, like a fire Pokemon maybe, that has something. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but maybe I'll experiment with steaming up the glass later. Yeah, so now I'm doing the mouth. With Paint.net, it unfortunately has a problem where if I had just used the magic wand to select the outline of the inside of the mouth, if once I remove that magic wand effect, it would have left a kind of pixelation between the outline of the mouth and the shading I had done inside, so I just over-shaped around the mouth and then used a circle gradient to give it the shadow of it going down the throat, and then just cleaned up around it, because it always leaves a much smoother image. And then, obviously, blocking out the colors. And now we play with Drool. So, this definitely came out a little more like sweat than drool, I think. I tried to have it kind of pooling around where the contact of the tongue is against the screen, but I also don't mind a lot of the droplets on the tongue, because let me know in the comments if you think it works or not. But I can also kind of pretend, since in the episode they are lapping up your soul, that those little beads could be soul orbs. You know, those little light spots that you see on cameras, typically for evidence of ghosts. If I redid this one with that specifically in mind, I definitely would have added more of a glow effect to each of the little droplets, because honestly that's a pretty fun idea. The idea that the soul orbs are practically like candy for these Pokemon that would eat them. Because there's a lot of ghost Pokemon where it's like, it consumes your soul as you're sitting there, so to depict that with soul orbs going into whatever orifice, fire, depending on the Pokemon, I think would be pretty neat. And you see me here kind of experimenting with how the shine would work, because I definitely noticed that the tongue, if it is so wet, it would have a bit more shine to it. I'm not quite using a reference yet. I like to play around with it to see if there's an effect I like, because it also helps dealing with a fantasy creature. I can play with the textures and how it lays out, but I think next time I'll definitely actually have a reference pulled up of like a dog licking a screen or something, to see where it lines up, where it shines. And of course, I added my bordering shadow spotlight gradient, as I do with all my spooky episodes at this point. Added the logo, added the number, now adding the what little ditto shine there is, aside from the pressure points on the finger pads. And then otherwise, that is about it. Again, most of the effort and focus went to the tongue. I used Haunter's darker purple in the background so the pink would pop more. And I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out. Again, I am terribly amused at how my skill set is improving with drool and slime and such. I never would have thought that would be my digital skill set, but here we are. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you would like to have early access to these and future episodes, or have access to the episodes that these thumbnails are based off of, you can subscribe on my Subscribestar and my Patreon. And otherwise, I will see you for the next catch. Bye-bye.